Welcome to Johnny and Brotsky with your hosts Johnny Kim and Brandon Brotsky. All right, this is Johnny Kim, your lifestyle and business consultant.
And this is Brandon Brotsky, founder and CTO of Brotsky LLC.
And today's topic is attraction.
Yeah, we're going to go into different elements of attraction, different characteristics for both relationships as well as business.
And we'll talk about reasons why certain things are attractive and maybe go deeper into more theory-based why certain things we find attractive to the female sex and all of that.
Sure. I mean, it could be for males too. I mean, there's definitely different things that are attractive for both people. I mean, in business, you have to be attractive to both females and males. And there's different ways to maybe reframe something that's stereotypically unattractive, but make it attractive. So a good example of this would be me being very nerdy. Typically, nerdy is like unattractive. You imagine that dorky kid that's a loner. But there's ways to make that nerdy, those nerdy tendencies, a very positive attribute and really make it something that people want to be around.
And in evolutionary term, in terms of just mating in relationships, dating-wise, right? You've heard the term like there's survival values. It boils down to survival values and reproduction values, right?
Mm-hmm.
So for men and women, they have that different survival value and reproduction value and how much emphasis they place in each category.
Yeah. So, I mean, do you want to go into maybe the characteristics?
Sure.
What do you find to be an attractive characteristic?
So we talked about confidence. Confidence is always an attractive characteristic universally, right? Not everyone, but most of the time. When somebody has confidence, they're probably a lot more dependable. They're probably a lot more... That's just like the way we look at somebody, right? Who carries themselves in a confident manner. We kind of tend to trust them and find them more attractive.
Yeah, I agree. I think confidence is something that's definitely made me more attractive over the years, in both dating and also business scene.
So why do you think confidence is such a big attraction point for most people?
I think where it roots would be like kind of the caveman days where you have that stereotypical like alpha male, right? And that alpha of the group is like confident, they're in charge, they know they're going to be leading, they are a leader, and everything about that resembles confidence, resembles they're in charge, they can take care of things, they can get it done.
And that kind of boils also down to that survival value, right?
Sure.
If you're more confident, then you're probably more likely to survive than somebody who lacks the confidence and they second guess themselves.
Yeah, if you can imagine like a fight between two different creatures. It doesn't even have to be humans. Imagine two dogs. Imagine the dog that's cowering or the dog that's standing up tall. Which one's going to win that fight? And guaranteed it's the one that's big and bold and it's going to take over.
Exactly. And studies show like when in a street fight, this doesn't really apply to professional fighters, but in a street fight, the person who's more determined to win, who's more confident they'll win, is usually the one who's going to come out win at the end.
And that doesn't happen in professional?
Not sometimes, but professional it's a little different.
Because they're both super confident.
Yeah, they're both super confident. They're playing at a level that's like very, very technical and
sure.
It's a little different.
I mean, I think it probably does come into play a little bit.
Yeah. Have you heard of that thing called yips? Like when they, no. Like in golf or anything, when they're at that last hole and there's all that pressure and their confidence kind of drains. And they just totally slice it or they totally like just fuck up.
No, I haven't heard that.
It's like where you like start to second guess yourself and all of that. It's like in everything, but in sports they call it the yips or something.
Okay, I've heard this. I haven't heard that name.
Oh yeah,
but yeah, if you start second guess yourself, you're probably not going to do as well. When you know you're going to make something, you're going to make it, or you have a better chance. So let's talk about some overlaps between business and relationships. And I think confidence is one. I think another one would be just showing higher value in different areas. So that could be knowledge.
Mm-hmm. Like you're an expert.
An expert, yeah. You have maybe a skill set. I think both of those are good. I think in the dating scene, people want to see someone is good at something.
Do you think they all overlap?
I don't know.
I feel like they all overlap. Like if you really want to if you really find somebody that attractive, do you think you'll find an excuse to get into business with that person, or you'll find an excuse why that person's awesome?
To a certain degree, they all overlap, and maybe in different areas. So maybe a physical appearance, right? You can say that doesn't really overlap in business because you're going to want to work with someone that you don't care they're going to be able to provide the job.
Mm-hmm.
But the reality is that it depends on the industry.
I think so too, especially when you're going for a pitch and you're dressed like crap, but with a very ill-fitting suit compared to somebody else who's wearing a Tom Ford suit. You're gonna make a huge difference between. Like, they're gonna judge you no matter what, right? There's that. Oh, it was the first impression.
Yeah, and I don't live by this, but I've heard that some people don't want to work with someone who appears to be lazy.
Exactly.
So someone who's physical fit, like very fit and muscular and stuff, has a better chance of getting a job over someone who's not.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I think that at the end of the day, they can both do the same job. But the person that takes care of their body, the kind of mindset is, okay, if they take care of themselves, they're going to take care of the business.
It's also a relationship. When you're going into business with somebody else, or when you're just hiring somebody, or you're getting a job.
Sure.
It is a type of relationship.
Oh, of course.
Even pre-selection. I think pre-selection is also something that's in both areas.
In what way?
So in dating, right? If pre-selection is when a girl sees you with another girl, or when you're having a good social circle with girls and things, attractive people, they find you more attractive because of that.
Sure.
And I think in business, it's the same thing. Because you associated yourself with American Express, Howie Mandel, and all those things, you are now associated with them. So they find you more attractive to work with.
Completely. Yeah.
So it's like a pre-select. It's like a different context, obviously, but that principle still applies.
Okay, so when you're talking about pre-selection, you're talking about someone else has already approved you.
Yeah.
And someone else has already given you credibility. Now, all of a sudden, you're worth more. You're have a better chance.
That's the same thing with dating. You're with some hot girl, and another girl sees you. You're all of a sudden a bit more attractive than, let's say, you were just alone by yourself at a club.
Or people always heard that the guy who has a girlfriend, it's much easier to get attraction from other girls.
Yeah, or just bring a friend. That's a girl. That's a really hot girl. That's like just
I know.
They just immediately. It doesn't matter if you tell them that, oh, she's just my friend. They're like primal instinct.
Their thought is like, okay, if you're trusted, you're trusted here, you're going to be trusted with me as well.
Exactly.
I have this friend in his fraternity days. He would go to a party, and he used to get a different girl every night. I mean, it's kind of a sleaze bag, but he'd go to a party, and a girl would come up, and he'd be like, ew, are you that guy that sleeps with all these girls? And he said that every time that happened, he was like, he knew what girl he was going to bring home that night.
Exactly.
Every time it worked. They would say they weren't into that, but they were always into it. It's very bizarre. Now, that taken aside, like to kind of restate myself a little bit, I don't necessarily think that's the best case study because you're going with girls that are at a fraternity party and
the principle still applies.
Yeah, the principle definitely applies. There's definitely that more attraction there because these girls are thinking, oh wow, what are these other girls finding so attractive about this kid?
It's an evolution. I think it's evolutionarily hardwired into us.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we do the same. It's like the group think as well. Right?
Sure.
Everyone's on board with this thing, then it must be good, right? Have you ever just walked in a big crowd of people, and your first thing you wonder is, oh, I wonder what's going on there, and you kind of want to be part of it. and you see that's how more and
Oh,
more.
sure.
You know, that's how
like
conners.
like a musician.
Yeah.
Is there?
You know, that's how cons work too. They actually know that principle. So it's a group of like con artists
Sure.
around this. You know, those the 3 queen game. Like
Uh-huh.
find a queen. There's 3 cards. So a group of con artists would just be like, oh wow, that's awesome. So that will bring in more people because there's like 5-6 people that they all know each other. So other people will come in, and they see them like lose and things like that. So it's like,
Sure.
oh okay,
But
this is an easy game.
have you seen Better Call Saul?
No, I haven't.
So and it's all about how he's like a scam artist, and they go through different scams and stuff. And one of the scams, he has this coin, and it's just a regular coin. It's a nickel, just regular nickel. And he shows it to someone. And he says, "See this nickel? It's facing the wrong way. Well, it's not valuable at all. It's worth a nickel." But he tells, like, yeah, this one right here, because it was made this certain way, it's worth $1,000. But if you want it for $100, I'm happy to give it to you.
Mm-hmm.
And the guy's like, no, I don't want it. And so what the guy does is he goes to the bathroom, and he has his friend call up someone. He calls his friend in the bathroom and says, hey, is this for real? Like, this is coin expert, and he's calling it some random. And they get this pre-approval of, wow, they really want that. Now, these 2 people are in it, and there's a third guy at the bar that is just the target. And he overhears that, and he says, oh, I don't have enough money. I need to run to the bank. So the guy that's the target comes over and says, hey, I'll give you $200 right now. Because he realizes that it's worth $1,000, and he's going to try to cash in. And really, he just paid $200 for a nickel.
Yeah.
And he thinks he bought something really valuable. And now he goes to sell it, and obviously he's going to find out. But by then, the scam's over.
Yeah. I mean, this could be used in literally... This is just social dynamic, right?
Sure.
Between just human beings and the way they react to certain characteristics.
So what about first impressions?
Yeah, first impression is huge. Especially if you're coming in without, let's say it's a cold approach. More like, there's like a warm approach where somebody just introduces you through a friend.
Sure.
A cold approach is a business pitch, let's say, and this is the first time you're going to meet them. Or a cold approach is there's a cute girl at the bar and you're going to approach her, right? So first approach, right? The first impression you get is going to be crucial. So the first thing they're going to notice is the way you look, right?
Mm-hmm.
Your body language. That's the first thing. So that's why it's so important to take care of yourself and actually be conscious about what you wear.
I think what you're wearing is really important. Also, whether you're clean shaven or at least you look good. Like you're clean. Your hair is done. I think a big thing that a lot of people don't realize is hands. I think hands are one of the first things people notice. I mean, it's how people communicate. You shake hands, you talk. Girls a lot of times have their fingernails painted, and they get compliments about this all the time. But guys very rarely focus on this. Now, I think I've heard a lot of people in business, like salesmen, will go and get manicures so their hands are perfect. And I'm not against that. I think it's also great. I haven't done that, but I always make sure my hands are perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Make
the
sure my hands are
moisturized.
Sure. And I have a job where like my hands are going to stay soft, other than going to the gym a lot. But I always make sure that my fingernails are perfect. And when they get just a little bit long, it bothers me like crazy. I can't stand it. So I make sure to always keep them as perfect as possible. And I think there's many areas like this. I mean,
hair.
Making sure your teeth are clean.
Mm-hmm. Your face.
Everything. And then there's the clothing aspect. And what do you think is important about dressing?
I think dressing well, just dressing everything that fits you is like the foundation. And after you get that right, you need to really think about what are you trying to project. If you're like a salesman, or
what do you mean by fitting you? Like fitting you as in style?
Fitting you as in just like it fits you. It's not too baggy. It's not too tight.
Sure.
Go to a tailor if you need to go to a tailor, if you're short or if you're too big,
Mm-hmm.
right? That's the foundation. Make sure you get that part right.
Sure.
Because that's like the foundation. Without that, everything else is just kind of
Yeah, I think people look kind of trashy if they're wearing really baggy clothing.
Exactly.
Or, what, having the seams like on your shoulder,
Exactly.
which has always been a problem for me.
Yeah.
Because like as I work out, I get bigger and bigger, and then
you need
all of a sudden I outgrow all my clothing. It's super inconvenient.
I know.
But it is a major thing. I mean, if you ever got fitted like from a tailor, they do all these measurements. And you get a shirt that fits you perfectly. And doing that is actually really cool because you get a shirt that fits you like perfectly on your arm length, perfectly on your shoulders, and it also can fit maybe the curvature of your back.
Yeah.
These are really subtle changes, and I think realistically, I don't think many people are going to notice it unless they really know.
They're not going to notice it probably consciously, but that's the first thing that's gonna kind of come to their eyes and then to their brain. It's like the silhouette.
And for sure, they're not going to notice something wrong. And I think that's almost more important. Not finding that flaw. Not seeing, oh, wow, why is that shirt wrinkly? It's just super distracting.
Exactly.
Because each one of those things, while it might not be a big deal, subconsciously you're going to think, okay, there's something wrong here.
Exactly. So having that foundation is key. And then after that, you should focus on, like, this has to do with identity and things like that. It's like, who are you? What do you do? Like, you should know that what they, like, have a good sense of what they do. Without, if they groom themselves properly and if they're wearing the right clothes, you should kind of get a sense of, okay, this is either a creative guy or he's very business oriented or he's, you know what I mean? You're fitting that expectation and kind of going above and beyond it. So there's this guy who's a CEO or he's the owner of a business.
Yeah, and how is he going to be dressing?
Exactly. So if I say, hey, he's a construction worker, you have a very specific image in your head, right, of what he will be dressed as.
Or think about, have you ever met someone very rich and like, wow, I can't even imagine him being rich.
Exactly.
Because he didn't dress that way. And that could actually be a compliment because they're really down to earth. Mm-hmm. Maybe that's what they're going for. But then there's the other side around it where they're dressed super successful. Like, wow, like a $2,000 suit, or at least it looks $2,000. And they're dressed really nicely, as best as they possibly could. It really makes a good impression.
And there's that term, dressing for the job that you want.
Sure.
And it kind of goes in line with that book, Think and Grow Rich.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You should visualize, you should think about how you want to be, where you want to go, and you should do the same thing with your wardrobe. Exactly. Act the part, dress the part, and you'll start becoming congruent with all those things.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So what's the next one?
The next would be like maybe an elevator pitch. How do you make that first pitch when you're introducing yourself? And this could be in a dating scene. It can also be in the business scene. The idea of an elevator pitch is that quick 30-second pitch about yourself and who you are and what you're doing. The idea behind it is that you want to be able to pitch someone at a time where you're in an elevator with a busy person. You have only 30 seconds from the moment the doors close until the moment the doors open. That's all you have. You need to be able to impress them right after that. And I constantly change mine for business. I say, hi, I'm Brandon. I'm a CTO and founder of Brotsky LLC. And I think that describes me as well. But in the past, I've had elevator pitches where like, hi, I'm Brandon. I make websites. Hi, I'm Brandon. I do marketing. And so on. And it could depend on who I'm trying to impress.
Exactly. And it's also important when you go more in depth about it, you're trying to brag without bragging, right?
Sure.
So the key to that is to make them kind of either ask them the question first, or if they ask you the question, you're not bragging anymore. So that's kind of where you want to get to when you're doing the 30-second elevator pitch. Don't just automatically go, hey, this is what I do, and this is what I've done, and here it is. It's like a whole list of shit. Don't give them your resume. Kind of make them Be curious about it.
The idea is less is more in that circumstance.
Exactly. So you want to get to the point where he's like, so what do you do? Or where they're at that curious point. Because that way they'll really listen.
Sure.
And they'll really respect what you do, because it's, oh, okay, now it matches their curiosity.
So what would be a good way of doing this?
So let's say you meet somebody. First thing is like to introduce yourself. Hey, I'm Brandon. I'm Johnny. And pick a title that's very specific.
Mm-hmm.
So if you said, "Hey, I just program," it's not really specific. That's not really a good way to communicate what you exactly do, right? Because you do a lot more than just programming.
Sure.
So that's why CTO and the founder of Brotsky LLC is a lot better, because that kind of is like an umbrella term saying, hey, I do a lot of things and I run the whole company, but at the same time, it's like attractive.
And a lot of people ask me about the CTO and why would I pick the CTO, and really, I founded the company. I could have done whatever I want. I could also be CEO, and we actually don't have a CEO because we're relatively small. There's really only about 20 of us. We have a COO for operations, and we have a CTO for me. The reason why I did a CTO is CTO is Chief Technology Officer, and because I'm into technology, and I'm not just overseeing everything, and I'm really, really focused on that. My degrees in computer science, etc. I wanted to show people, look, I'm more than just running a company. I'm actually active and
hands-on.
I'm hands-on into what I'm doing, and I actually have a lot of background in technology, whereas CTOs of a lot of companies, or CEOs, don't necessarily have that background. If you look at maybe the CEO of like a company like Disney or Sony, they have executive experience. They have experience managing other people, managing people like the CTO, and managing the operations officer, etc., the CFO, but not so much the technology portion of it. So without saying it, it says, hey, I actually know how to be a developer as well, while I know how to run a business. And then there's more to it. I have Brotsky LLC, and the reason why I like to say that is LLC shows that, okay, it's actually a legal company. It's not just
something you
me.
made.
It's not just a sole proprietorship. It's like I've put in time, I've put in money, I've invested into this, and we grew to the point where we needed an LLC to protect ourselves. Technically, anyone can get an LLC. It's not like rocket science. Like for maybe $1,000 in taxes, you can have an LLC, and you're good to go. So it's not a huge wow factor, but it does show a step above like a DBA.
Yeah. And it's important after you say that your specific title that you kind of form to kind of break up the pattern and ask them a question about what they do. Because a lot of the time they go, I'm Brandon, this is my title, and this is what I do. Kind of break it up. So Brandon, title, question.
Mm-hmm.
So they could introduce themselves. And if they go into what they do, that's fine. You don't need to wait for them or
sure.
interrupt them.
Yeah, talk to them about what they do.
Yeah, talk to them about what they do. And it's natural that they will probably ask, so what is it exactly that you do? Or what do you do in your company? And
that's where you can really wow them in different factors. And you can almost sometimes exaggerate about maybe what you've done with certain things. So that's the moment where I would say, yeah, we do stuff for like American Express, AT&T, Symantec, VeriSign, etc. And then I can show them, oh, hey, we actually work for like big companies. Mm-hmm. We're actually doing a lot with it, and this is something that we're very serious about. And by breaking it up, by asking that question, now you could tailor what you do to exactly what they need. Sure. You see what I'm saying? If you just went down the list, it's probably a generic list that, it's like a basic list of what you do exactly, right? Mm-hmm. But after you ask them all these questions about what they do and, kind of probe information about the problems they have. Oh, yeah, definitely. And then you could be like, oh, that's funny because I do web development and I
I do specific things to get to this. So it's like, here's a solution to your problem.
Hey.
At the same time, talking about this is what I do.
And there are certain people that it wouldn't impress at all. Like, let's say you're talking to a celebrity, or you're talking to someone that manages a celebrity. Someone that can, in my field, I would want to do that celebrity website. I can talk about the celebrities that we have worked with in the past as kind of that, what's the word, pre-qualification.
Yeah.
So you can really make them feel comfortable about going with you, that you've had experience in that before.
Yeah, pre-selection is huge, especially in business. If
Well,
entrepreneurs,
I think it's big in dating. I think it's just as important as in dating.
I think so too. It's so powerful in dating.
Mm-hmm.
And if entrepreneurs or anything like that are listening and they want to grow their business or grow their market, or if you, let's say, have a blog and you want to grow that, get the little guys first, get pre-selection, and use the little guy's name to go to the next step. Use them. So get guest speakers or collaborate with them, and then start going up that ladder.
Sure.
So you're building that pre-selection qualifying value of yourself. If you let's say you have nothing, right? You have no connections whatsoever. You could reach out to very low, not as high profile people within your industry, collaborate with them, and start networking that way, and talk to another person who's in that same industry, in that same level, and use the pre-selection method of, I worked with this person as well, and they told me.
And every person helps.
Exactly.
I mean, that goes into sales and everything. I mean, every person you do work with, theoretically, will refer you to 3 others. And those 3 other people are going to refer you to 3 others.
And those referrals work because of pre-selection principles.
Sure. Another good way to have people, to form attraction in business would be having someone else talk about you. I have a friend who's also a developer, and he would go to meetups. And what he would do is his friend would go and talk about him and say, yeah, that guy he's like top 10 developers in Los Angeles. Now, there's no real list of top 10 developers in Los Angeles. But the fact that this guy is theoretically on it makes him, wow, that's amazing. He's not really on it. It's complete BS. But he's telling this kind of fabrication. Now, this gets around to a few other people. And on the next meetup this guy went to, the guy introduced himself. And he said, oh, I've heard of you. Aren't you one of the top developers in the United States or something? It kind of got skewed a little bit from best in the city to best in the United States. And it's kind of funny how that works. So if you maybe get someone to talk about you in another way, I mean, it makes everything you say just more credible.
Yeah. And that's called accomplishment intro.
Sure.
Right? Well, it's important to kind of have your social circle get together and kind of create an accomplishment intro for each other. Mm-hmm. So let's say you're networking and you're talking to somebody who needs a lifestyle and business consultant. You could do the accomplishment intro for me. If I talk to somebody and they need a specific website built, then I could go, accomplishment intro you, and then introduce them to you.
And it's way, way easier when someone's coming up to you saying, hey, I heard you do this. Can you help me?
Yeah. So the attraction is already there before you even had...
You didn't do any effort.
Exactly.
It's amazing. So you can figure out a way to get other people to talk about you in some way. And any way that could be. It could even be on social media. It could be in an event. It could be like one-on-one.
Yeah. And I tell people to do it together. Create that accomplishment together. That way they don't screw it up, or they don't, because the titles, the things we do matter.
I remember there was a scenario in the game when we were really involved in it. You're with your buddy. You have a wingman. Now there's 2 targets. You're each going to choose a different one. Now one of you is going to talk to target A, and the other is going to talk to target B. But you're really doing a switch. The entire time when you're talking to your buddy's target, you're saying great things about this guy. You're saying, wow, I mean, that guy is amazing. and this is called in the game it was a DHV, a display of higher value. Because you're saying, wow, you really enjoy your friend. This is you're hanging out with someone that you really want to hang out with, that's a great thing. And then it makes your friend look just amazing that someone is taking out of their time. Instead of talking about how great they are, they're talking about how great their friend is. Like, wow, how great can their friend be? So it really makes everything look good. And then your friend comes in and talks to his actual target, and he doesn't have to do much work at all. It's already there.
Exactly. So you're already hot and you're ready to go.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
All right. Let's wrap this up.
Yeah, I think we've I don't know, we're at the almost 30-minute mark. So I think we're ready to go.
All right. So we have a new email. It's called hello@johnnyandbrotsky.com. If you guys have any questions or if you guys have any requests about specific topics you guys want to talk about or have any questions that you would want us to kind of tackle on the podcast, feel free to email us.
If you forget the email for some reason, we'll have it posted on johnnyandbrotsky.com. So check it out. Hope you guys enjoyed the episode.
All right. See you guys next time.